how serious you are about your data strategy, right? Most organizations I have worked with or I have come across actually don't have any data strategy. Their data strategy is one large petabytes pile of data, and that's what their strategy is all about, right? It doesn't work that way. You need to understand a data is not even a pile, right? A data, if you think carefully, is as your product is evolving, it is adding new layers. So just as you dig earth and you find layers of soil, your data store is actually layers on top of each other. A belief of a lot of CXOs that I've seen, right, is that a little error is something we all can live with. That is what we live in life with us, right? So when these organizations hire AI teams and these AI teams go and dig deep into the kind of data they are looking for, they find that there is hardly any data that is there which is worth solving for, right? So what it leads to is this funny scenario whereby you have invested in a lot of data infrastructure, right? You have collected a lot of data painfully over the years. You're extremely proud of the fact that there is petabytes of data, but at the same time, you don't have the data for the problem at hand, right? So my sincere recommendation is, if you are somebody who is a senior stakeholder in your organization, and your organization is extremely serious about AI, right? You need to set up this refinery in your company. Ingest, clean, process the data, right? The consumers of this data should not worry about what source, what process, what time frame it is coming from, right? Monitor data quality very, very, very carefully, right? And then give it to consumers within the organization downstream. It could be analytics team, it could be data analysis team, it could be data products team, it could be AI team. One rule of thumb that I have found that works well is, if a AI engineer cannot take out the data that they are looking for in at max 1 to 2 days, there's something grossly wrong with your entire data strategy. You need to look at very, very seriously the whole piece. There's something a lot of big tech firms don't often talk about, because according to me, this is the secret ingredient, right? This is where the entire game gets played. If you look at any organization that have done AI extremely well, you'll find they've built empty numbers of systems behind the scenes to carefully collect every single data point coming from their users. Right? So start investing in data quality. It is the data engineers that's going to get you to the magic, not necessarily that you just bring a bunch of data scientists and hope everything is going to happen. Right? Now what I'm going to talk about is the other side. I mean, this is fairly simpler to understand comparatively, right? That as AI is advancing, AI itself is going to help big time in data observability, right? Ultimately, what is data observability? You are seeing certain patterns in your data in terms of quality, right? Once you're able to solve for them, once in a while things will go wrong, you should be able to do this kind of anomaly detection fairly easy, right? So can you predict and flag issues as they happen, right? You can't wait for your customers to come back 2 weeks, 2 months down the line and tell you, hey, now dude, something was extremely wrong, right? Fixing data retrospectively is seldom possible. I mean, if there is some error that has come in your data, you have 2, 3, 4, 5 days within that it needs to fix. If that doesn't happen, eventually the data gets stored, but when any of the team is going to consume it, they're going to completely cut out that slice and throw it away. So you might as well throw it away. So fix it then and there, right? Make sure you understand why it went wrong. You make the fix for it and you create the necessary alerting mechanisms for it, right? AI for RCA is again a thing that is now coming more and more, whereby the idea is the team doesn't spend a lot of time in finding what the issue is, right? Once the issue is known, they actually go ahead and spending a lot of time in fixing once for all, and two, creating alerting mechanisms out of it. So what you need to build is a command center where as and when the data goes wrong, you actually can take proactive steps. If this is not going to happen, AI within the org is not going to, also not going to happen, right? And then over a period of time, create your alerts more and more intelligent so that they can inform the right set of people in the right set of time, right? This is exactly the point Shiv also spoke about. Over a period of time, you need to optimize your costs, right? You need to understand that you can't just, because this is a question I've heard from a lot of business leaders. Why should I collect data when I don't even know the use case? The thing is, if you look at AI, you can burn money, get the best talent in the world. You can burn money very quickly, get the best GPUs, right? The algorithms are anyways open source. That's how computer science has always been. You cannot patent an algorithm, you can only patent the system. But what about the data? There is still no way to say, I can go and collect 1 year of data in 2 days' time. There is still no way to short circuit this time period that one has to invest to carefully collect data, right? So become proactive rather than reactive, right? Uh, I will give a hypothesis. I don't know whether this is true or not, but we will see with time. If you think carefully of a company like a YouTube, what is their biggest challenge coming from as a business? We all have seen YouTube. We all see it on a daily basis. Where do you think is the biggest challenge, the business challenge for YouTube? It is the TikTok, right? The 30-second videos are killing, absolutely killing YouTube's business. Now, the world has moved to a side whereby long videos, it's the YouTube, the short videos, it's the TikTok, right? And that's eating big time into their revenues. Now, what does YouTube need? They need a way to encourage people to upload more and more short videos. But changing human behavior is always a hard problem, right? It doesn't get solved over a period of time. So, what should YouTube do? A logical way is build systems that can take large videos as an input and spit out short, interesting videos as output and start uploading them on the platform, right? Today they are doing by incentivizing users. They have already launched a product called Short, but they are not banking on that. Now, how do you build a system like that? Is there a data set out in the world? No. Can ChatGPT do this? No. So they need to do this in-house. They're already collecting data for it. So if you look at YouTube bar today, you see a plot that keeps coming, which shows which are the parts where users have spent more time and which are the parts where users have spent lesser time. Now, defining what is interesting is a hard problem, right? What is interesting for each of us will be different, but what they have taken is a very realistic approach. If a lot of people watch some part of a long video, there has to be interesting enough. Now, where is this going? This is actually laying the foundation of that system that they hope to build in a year or year and a half or whatever is their plan. But that investment in that data collection strategy has to happen now. Now imagine a year and a half later they find that half of the data is wrong. They're screwed up big time. There is no way they can rewind the clock, go back, fix all of this. So the data quality monitoring has to happen as and when they have started to build the system on a continuous basis. Right? So that's the key point. So in essence, AI and data quality, data observability, in my experience, are nothing but two sides of the same coin, right? Now, a lot of business leaders look at the outcome. They are always focused on the outcome. So AI is what is extremely dear to them, right? But the foundations of it lie in data quality, and you actually have no other option but to invest in it, because if you don't, there are a bunch of smart kids who will figure out a way and they will overrun you very, very soon. That's my time. Thank you so much for it. Any questions?
first of all, thank you for introducing the concept of AI for data observability to me. I think that's something I never thought of, and it's an amazing concept to explore further. What I wanted to ask was the topic before that, where you mentioned a data model should be simple, and we should not be doing unnecessary fancy stuff to get to the point where we need it for all the algorithms and things like that that are already there. I wanted to understand more on it. What do you mean by a simple stream or simple model that builds it? Does it mean not using so many different infras to sort of achieve your goal, or what does that exactly mean?
No, I would rather put it in the following way. By simple, I mean take the data as it comes, do the necessary cleaning, store it right in a format so that anybody in the organization who knows just a little bit of engineering can query it. If fetching out data requires you to create a separate team, create a plan, then they execute that for 3 months, then your data strategy is not right, right? Data as a commodity should be available on the shelf. So if I go in a bookstore, I am looking for a book. If I can't find that book within 5 minutes, I'm not going to spend any more time over there. I'm going to simply walk out. That's how your data flow should be like, right? The only way a good kitchen can work is having a great pantry. The quality and the way the whole thing is set up matters a lot. You bring the best of the chef in the world. If if your pantry is not good, he also can't do anything. So that's what I meant by somebody needs to have that level of maturity to understand can they themselves sit and fetch out the data within maybe max 2 to 3 hours. If not, something is wrong, drastically wrong.
Sure, thank you.
Public concerns around it and also the governance laws which are related to it. And it is very important that the data which we are using to train the AI models is uh, very good or like something which is not having a lot of noise or subjectivity because that will affect the bias or of the AI model. So how exactly are we going to handle the subjectivity of the data which we are using to train the models?
It's not something that should be looked at, but if you ask me honestly, right, it is something worth having a problem. At least get to a state where you start having that problem. Right? I've heard this concern from a lot of CXOs that hey, how are you going to ensure that this is going to be fair and all of that stuff. While they can't build a simple systems in their organization that can even do prediction with a decent accuracy. So it's almost like in 1950s worrying about cars polluting the environment. You have not been able to build engines that can move the cars. Why are you worrying about it? Again, the point is not that it is not important, but painting all the demons on the wall on day one is not going to get you any far. Right? So, but yes, as you mature, this is going to matter. I think having a diverse data set which is a true representation of the world. When I say world, the kind of data is going to see in the production becomes a crucial factor. So you need to understand what parts are underrepresented, what parts are overrepresented. So part of this will be played by the data sets, part of this will be played by the algorithms. Right? But the point I'm making is it's a good problem to have.
Language models. Is prompt engineering like the perfect launching pad?
See, prompt engineering is a great thing, right? I mean, I'll tell you where ChatGPT has changed the game. For the longest time, if a business and a product team had to sit together, hack out an idea, which is essentially based on AI, they have a huge dependency on an AI team to first build a model. And building a model takes its own time. What ChatGPT has done is it has squashed all of this and removed AI team completely from the picture. Most AI teams in most organizations today are worried more than any other engineer that what is going to happen to them because suddenly a smart PM and a smart business leader can sit together, use a chat GPT kind of a tool and quickly hack out of it. So it's a great tool because the entry barrier becomes extremely low. right? You can quickly create POCs, test market, understand what is working, what is not working, are my customers responding or not. But that's not the end game. Because if you can do, your competition can throw twice the money, hire the same set of people, build the same set of POC within overnight, right? So once you move into the market, once you start maturing, once you try and gain more of the market, you can't just depend on the chat GPTs of the world. You will have to start creating your own, right? Also, I think chat GPT is extremely new. I think 6 months from down, you'll also start hearing a lot about how they also go wrong, right? Shiv already showed a very interesting case whereby when it looked at those entities, it is not able to understand the name, but it understands that these three are connected and have very same pattern, right? So ChatGPT is not the ultimate tool to solve all the problems. Yes, the power it adds is a smart PM and a smart business leader today can sit with this over a weekend and hack out a solution. So the time cycle to produce a POC has been squashed greatly. So, in my humble opinion, that's the future, right? The entry barrier, it has created a or reduced the entry barrier by a great amount of time.
There's one question from the lady here. And all the people standing in the back, the outstanding participants. I guess since you are on your feet, you are completely involved and paying attention to the entire talk here. So, you guys have any questions? We're all put on the spot. We're so happy just a minute ago. Guys, do not worry, please. There's a lot of empty seats here. Come in. We want to see you seated and rested. This is not a punishment. You don't have to stand in the back. There are a lot of chairs here. Please move forward. Everyone with an empty seat next to you, put your hands up. See? Come on, guys. Give them company. Come forward and sit, yeah? Thank you so much. All right. Sorry.
I do have a question. So there was an interesting the companies also invest into ETLs, and ETL itself is embedded with many of the AI models nowadays, the latest ones that are coming into the market. So here, when you've mentioned this part where the garbage data is attached to an AI model, so is there any checklist or the basic thing that any project or an application needs to follow that AI needs to be used at this part of place, like this is the place where AI needs to be used. So before that, the data has to be clean, or is there any checklist like that that you can suggest?
So imagine there is a field called gender, and suddenly you have a field value saying ABC. Of course, that's an incorrect one. So it, there is again no magic wand to it, right? Which is why it's a hard piece, which is why it is often the most underrated task. But somebody has to do all of that, right? This is very similar to if you're cooking, right? Somebody has to shift through the entire rice or grain, whatever you are using, to make sure there are no bad parts to it. If there are stones in it, you are not going to like all the taste. So all of us love to have clean outputs. The point is nobody is willing to do the dirty tasks, right? And that paper, I think this paper came out in 2016, the one I mentioned. This actually comes from Google. It has a brilliant insights of why all of this is extremely crucial. So the answer to that is one, very good understanding of the domain, the product which is collecting, the context within this collecting. Of course, you can try and do some sieving using AI itself because ultimately bad data is nothing but an anomaly detection, right? But you can't train your own models to do anomaly detection because for that you need labeled data. And if you have labeled, then you already know what parts are bad, so you can as well remove it. You can rely on third-party solutions; they can do some part of it, but they are not going to do 100% correct for sure. Right? The point is, your data could have 2% error. So out of maybe 100 records, only 2 of the records are bad. What you don't know is how it's going to amplify when you train the model. Maybe it has only looked at that 90%. It all depends on a lot of things, right? Internally, a lot of this goes into batches and stuff like that. Now, suddenly imagine a large part of bad data comes on the last batch on which you're training your deep neural net. It will have implications because within that batch, the proportion of bad data is very high. So whatever it has learned so far, right? You also have to remember these models are great, but they are not human brains, right? Human brains are extremely good at remembering the old and then adding the new on top of it, right? These models have a problem called catastrophic forgetting. So if your last batch has a lot of bad data, whatever you have done prior to it, it's all right.
Come on, guys, put your hands together. He is truly driving so much knowledge and change in the AI space. Thank you so much, Mr. Anuj. You all might be wondering what exactly to post. Anything, any of your experiences, any of your learnings. So I'm going to do a small vocal exercise just to like 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1. All right, awesome. Everyone, touch your nose. All right, that's good enough attention right now. All right, calling upon stage, we have the next speaker with us. Before that,